Hi YouTubers, Cindy Curran here, a spiritual life coach from Enlightenment Now. Today's topic, what I'd like to talk about is why things happen bad in the world. Things that we think like, oh my God, how can these things possibly happen? It's tragic. You'll see as the video goes along. And it has to do with reincarnation and learning our lessons in karma. So let me give you a scenario. The scenario is a young lady was gang raped by a bunch of men. Gang raped, tortured for days. I believe she was murdered. She ended up dying. And the people, the perpetrators, who the criminals who were doing this crime, their families knew. There were some families knew, some of their friends knew, the neighbors. They just closed their window. They didn't want nothing to do with it. They just turned their back. Certainly, for whatever reason, they didn't want bad things to happen to them. I don't know, but they turned their back. So this woman ends up dying. But they end up being brought to justice. Or should say justice was not served, but they were brought to court. The leader of this, who organized this whole thing, was brought to court. I don't know about the other ones, but he was brought to court and he got off. I don't know, a technicality or something, but he got off. Now the father of the victim is furious. He wants revenge. There's no doubt in anybody's mind that this guy raped and murdered his daughter. So now the father wants revenge. He's filled with hate. And he dies that way. Now take that scenario and put it back 150 years. All those people in that scenario are reincarnated into this space-time in reality. And the girl who was gang raped is Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer's victims were the people who had gang raped her in another lifetime. And the father, that boy there was a thing where one of the kids actually escaped Jeffrey Dahmer and ran outside, and the cop picked him up and brought him back into Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment or house or whatever it was. And that the cop was the father over 100 years ago. He was the father of the victim who was raped and beaten. So, and of course, nobody knows, none of the people in this scenario knows what happened 150 years ago. And the reason why we forget is because we lose our compassion. Long story short, the reason why I use this scenario about Jeffrey Dahmer is I got into a conversation with somebody who has the same abilities as me and who can see the past and present at times. I don't have control over it. I don't know why it happens when it happens, but for whatever reason it happens. And we got into the scenario, and it ends up she had the same vision that I had. Now we have no proof of this. This is nothing in the books or anything. So you can take it or leave it. You can just use it in the essence of what I am trying to say. But I was talking to her, and she says, well, too bad for them. What goes around comes around, referring to the children that were raped and murdered by Jeffrey Dahmer. And I said to her, you can't lose your compassion. You still have to have compassion for those kids in this time and space reality, because this is the experience that we are having at this moment. But she lost her compassion, so her compassion leveled off. And I'll give you another example about reincarnation and coming back. Let me see. Like say we read about a homeless man who was beaten up, and say that happened in the past, and when they get reincarnated, they'll switch roles. The one who did the beating up of the homeless person may become a homeless person himself, and the person that he beat up previously becomes the victim, if that makes any sense. The roles reverse, because we have to learn our lessons. We have to grow. Now, it doesn't have to be exactly the way I'm saying. A homeless person gets beaten by somebody, then they get reincarnated and they switch roles. It doesn't have to be. There are tons and tons of reasons why people reincarnate. I'm just giving you one possible example. The homeless person may have been somebody who was rich in their life, and they thought they were only worth their money. So what happens? They have nothing. They get reincarnated. They have nothing. They're homeless. They might have a drug problem. They have to go through the human condition, which makes them be homeless in the first place, which is traumatic. And we might say, oh, it's terrible, they're homeless or whatever. And really, they're here to learn that they can be loved and cared for even if they're homeless. So it's important, if you see a homeless person, not to say, well, he got what he was due, wonder what he did in his past to make him that way. That's not how you're supposed to think. They might be needed to learn a lesson. They might be a martyr, a soul that came down to be a martyr to increase other people's compassion, because every time you show compassion for anybody, something, nature, the world, the universe, whatever, your compassion grows. So there's important things for reincarnation. Hitler, we think of Hitler as a horrible, horrible person because of the things that he did to the Jews. And of course, it was horrible. I'm not saying that it wasn't. But what we don't know is a majority of those people, of the Jews that were tortured, if you will, they were the Huns. And anybody who doesn't know what the Huns were, they existed, I don't know, 100 years ago, whatever. And they were very, very violent people. So now they get reincarnated. Hitler actually came down to be a martyr, because if you read about the Jews, every generation, it got worse for the Jews and worse for the Jews. Their struggles became more and more hard for them. And there was such a worldwide disrespect for them for reasons I don't know. Some people say it's because the Jews killed Jesus. I don't know. There's nothing that justifies what any torture or any disrespect anybody goes through. But so they come back. So generations, it just kept getting worse and worse, and then they hit Hitler. Hitler was a really good soul. He couldn't even watch what was happening to the Jews. But he came down to rescue them because lessons were not being learned. And if you think about it, after the Jews, after they went through what Hitler did to them, the worldwide compassion for the Jews went like through the roof. We haven't heard of this. There's some things that have been against Jews, but I'm saying as far as it was for them before and years prior to Hitler, it's not as bad or not bad at all. And plus, for themselves, they felt separated from society, from what I read. And we're all one. We all need to take care of ourselves. So even with the slaves, with the African Americans, if you read about the slaves back in Africa, before white people went to Africa, they had slaves. So again, what goes around comes around. So it's really important that we treat people exactly how we want to treat people. And it's important, and I say this for any psychics out there who have that ability that I have, that other people have, that they can see the past and the future. Don't lose your compassion. I had a friend, we were talking, and there was some kind of war going on in another country, and she's saying, well, hey, everything works out for the better and all is good and perfect, and that's fine. But don't lose your compassion, because if you lose your compassion, then it levels off. I shouldn't say you lose it, but you feel compassionate up to a certain point and you don't grow. then you're going to have to come back and something's going to happen bad that is going to elevate your compassion levels. So that's what I wanted to say. That's why bad things happen, even with the president. Yeah, I don't want to get into that, but I'm not very pleased. And I saw a post, 70% or 69% of the population are not happy with what he's doing. But when he got in, he put a magnifying glass to all the ills of society, of the United States. Now it's brought that up to the front, prejudice and bigotry and how we view and treat women and stuff like that. So now it's magnified. I'll tell you, I honestly was living in La La Land. I never even knew that things like that, the bad stuff, was happening on that level. And then when he got into office, I realized it was like a wake-up call for me. So what he's doing, he's putting a magnifying glass on that, and that gives us a chance to look at it, and where we can't ignore it anymore, and heal that in ourselves, in society. So it really is a good thing what's happening. Heal yourself first, and what you concentrate on expands. It grows. Keep your focus on the peace. I think I said that before in a previous interview. I was saying about the morphogenic field. When you get and I use the analogy of the 100th monkey experiment, where monkeys on a certain island were given sweet potatoes. One of the monkeys got the idea to wash the sweet potatoes in the water, and after other monkeys saw him, monkey see, monkey do, they started washing the sweet potatoes in a certain way. So what happened is, after the 100th monkey started washing the sweet potatoes in a certain way, they noticed, and this was the experiment, islands like thousands of miles away, they were also keeping an eye on those monkeys in another island, to see how this first set of monkeys affected the second set of monkeys, and the second set of monkeys, without even knowing what the first set did, they started washing the sweet potatoes in that particular way. And of course, one monkey can't phone the other monkey and say, hey, I got this great idea how to wash the sweet potatoes, get the dirt off. They couldn't do that, So, and it's called the morphogenic field. And they also did that experiment with people in England and America. And they showed them videos, and they had some messages in the videos. I forget exactly how it went. But once the messages were pointed out to the Americans, they noticed that the people in London were able to figure out those messages on their own without them being pointed out too. So if you ever get a chance to read up on the 100th monkey experiment, I would highly recommend it. And keep your mind focused on where you want to go. Think of life as a car, right? You're driving down the street. You don't look that way. You look where you're going. Even if you go in the skid, they tell you, look where you're going, and your car will go in that direction. And that's the same thing with our lives. You look where you're going. You expand. What you focus on expands. It's the law of the universe. There's no way around it. And it's not just your thoughts, it's your emotions. It's actually your emotions are stronger than your thoughts. And that's how you talk to the universe. That's how you control the laws of the universe. It's actually through your emotions. But sometimes you first have to have that thought in your head, what you want to do, where you want to go, and it will happen. I'll tell you a quick story. I wanted a cat tree for my apartment, and it was kind of expensive. I wanted a really big one, a really nice one, as I have more than one cat, and I couldn't afford it. So one day I was walking down the street, and by a dumpster I see the exact exact cat tree that I wanted. I actually had it on my wish list on Amazon. That's how I know it was the exact one. And it was the exact tree. So I went and I looked at it. You know, I was looking for flea dirt, urine stains. I was smelling it. I probably looked like a retard out there by the dumpster with my nose up to this tree house. And it was clean. I couldn't believe how clean. Just a few cat hairs and that's it. So I brought it home and my cats love it. And I was focusing. I really wanted that, and it happened. And more, that's happening to me. I'll be focused on, I wonder what the answer to this. I wonder why this. I wonder why that. And somehow that answer will come to me. So it might come to me in a TV commercial, might come to me in a song. I might meet somebody standing in line, some complete stranger at a grocery store. And we'll start talking, and somehow they answer my question. It's pretty amazing. So your emotions, keep your emotions positive. Focus. If we keep our focus on peace and love will happen throughout the world. If we think that we're going to be in another war, the world is terrible, then that's the direction the world is going to go in. And it's really important that we have a group consciousness of peace. And I'm part of a Facebook group that I'm very proud of, and it's called the World Peace Prayer, where we share positive things. Oliver Brown is the one who created that Facebook page. And there's prayers for peace. We want to keep our focus on peace and have as many people as possible focusing on peace and making a conscious effort on that. And again, it's not your thought, I want peace. If you're thinking, I want peace, but your emotions are feeling, oh my God, we're going into war, things don't look good, I might be losing my insurance, and all this negativity, then that is what's going to happen. It's what you feel. That's what's going to happen. I have a loose hair on my face. It's driving me crazy. But anyway, so that's what I want to say. That's why bad things happen, is reincarnation. That's why we have reincarnation, because that's how we learn our lessons. That's why we have karma. What goes around comes around. Again, do not lose your compassion for people. What happens does not matter what happened 150 years ago, 200 years ago. The past is not the future. The future is what you create it to be. Keep your focus on the future. Keep it positive. Keep it joyful. Keep it loving. Keep it peaceful. And if we can get enough people to do that, I really believe with all my heart that we can transform this world. Because I really believe with all my heart, with the very fiber of my being, that every human being is love. And what happens is, this is what I believe. I believe the universe, whether you call it God, Jesus, Buddha, whatever word you want to use for the universe, is a loving universe. And we're pieces of that loving universe. Just like if you have an ocean of water, and I have said this before in earlier videos, but for those who may not have seen that video, I'm repeating it here. Think of the ocean water, and you take a drop of that ocean water and you put it under a microscope. It has all the properties of the ocean. It just doesn't have the magnitude of the ocean, doesn't have the power of like the waves or the whole ocean, but we still have that properties. So, and I believe God, Buddha, Jesus, Jehovah, I believe they are love. In fact, no matter what religion you study, it always says God is love, and we are pieces of that love. That's who we are at our being. So people might say, well, what about bad stuff? Bad stuff happen. Is that God? No, that isn't God. What happens is we have an emotional scale. Say this is love right here, and this is us. So we are love. All of us is love. Say you do something to somebody, you feel bad for them. So you move away. And then you're like, oh, I feel bad. I did that. I'll apologize. You go back to that place of love. Some people might do something, they might steal. And they might feel bad. Maybe they'll return it. They'll apologize to the person. They go back to that state of love. how bad things happen, another reason why bad things happen is we'll do something and we're like, oh no, we're not going to apologize. We're not going to correct that. We're not going back to that state of love. And we get further and further. Maybe they're in a state of love and they steal something. Oh yeah, that feels good. They got away with it for whatever reason. They feel powerful, whatever drives them. So they get into bigger things. They go against the love. And then they get into something bigger. Maybe they're robbing banks or whatever. Maybe they're murdering people, and they get further and further away from love. But really, love is still the core of their being. And once they change, they come back. Once they make that decision, no, this isn't right for me. I want to be in that state of love. I don't want to hurt nobody. I want to live a good life. And they go back to that state of love. That's why when we're feeling bad, when we're feeling negative, or anything, we're saying, oh, we're away from that state of love. People who are in wars, they're murderers, they are so far away from their original state of being, which is love. Sometimes I believe, I don't have any proof of it, but it's my personal belief, if you go too far away from that state of love, you just go crazy. You just go insane. You become mentally ill. And it's up to us, people who are in that state of love, to show these people who are so far away from love that they reconnect and slowly, or maybe fast, depending on the person, gets back into that state of love. It might not be this lifetime, maybe be next lifetime, maybe be the lifetime after that. I don't know. But it's really important. They say, love your enemies. Doesn't mean you have to trust them. If you were beat up by your boyfriend or your girlfriend, men are abused too, and if you're beat up by them and you leave them, then you love them. Don't go back to them, of course, because they're still going to beat you up probably, but just love them because they need that love. Maybe they will change. You don't know. There is a possibility. I believe everybody can change if they make that conscious decision to change. So love your enemies. And I want to say too, I use that term of reincarnation. In the beginning, that girl who was raped comes back as Jeffrey Dahmer, and he gets even with his victims in that way. And the way to break that karma, say they don't learn their lessons and they keep going from lifetime to lifetime. By the time it got to that point, it was an escalation. It just doesn't just happen like that. So it was an escalation. So my guess is they kept coming back as victim, criminal, and it gets so big that you can't ignore it anymore. And the way to break that karma, like say that victim, that girl wants to break that karma and stop being victim, stop being perpetrator, and stop being a victim, they have to forgive. Forgiveness relieves you of your karma. I know it's tough to forgive. I've been hurt myself, not in that way, but I had a very abusive older relative, and it was a female actually, and she used to beat me because she said I thought she was prettier than me. So long story, I'm getting into that video with narcissism, so I'll be exploring that a little bit more in the future, in future videos. And so that's what you do, forgive them. Oh, it's so hard to forgive because we think it lets people off the hook, but that's furthest from the truth. We don't let them off the hook. What we do is release the pain inside of us. What we do, if we don't forgive, we're feeling that hate, maybe revenge, we get further away from that place of love. And when we forgive, we go back to that place of love for ourselves. We release that pain. We release that need to have revenge. We become peaceful, more loving. So it's really important to forgive. So I want to say that. I hope it helps some people out there. Again, I have no proof of what I say, especially when I go back 150 years ago. If you know a psychic, ask them their opinion if they see something like that. Not all psychics will see it, of course. And never lose your compassion. Next time, if you see it, and again, I speak to the psychics, the ones I've met, the ones I haven't met, who've leveled off their compassion, said, everything's perfect. There's a reason, there's a lesson they need to learn. do not lose your compassion, whatever you do, because it's going to come back to you. And that's not what it's meant. Stuff like that helps us elevate our compassion. We read about, we see an animal who's been abused. What happens? Our compassion level grows. We see kids being abused, it grows. Hopefully you do something about it, if you can. Some people, you can't. There's so many things going on. It's hard to get involved in everything. It would be overwhelming. There was a guy many years ago who was helping the homeless, and he became so overwhelmed with it that he ended up taking his life. So you don't want to get too overwhelmed with problems, ills of the world. Plus, if you have your own issues going on, it can be very, very overwhelming. So, just do what you can. Be a good person. Keep your focus. Keep your emotion. More importantly, keep your emotion focused on peace, love, joy, and it's going to happen. Somehow, some way, it's going to happen. There will be. I do believe that with all my heart. There is going to be peace, love, and joy. This world is peace, love, and joy if we can just get enough people to believe it. Well, that's it for my video today. If you like this video, please press the like, click on the like button. If you like to see more videos as I make them, please click on the red subscribe button, and that will bring, whenever I do a video, it will show up in your email box, so you won't miss a video. And that's it. May peace, love, joy, happiness surround you and all your years through. May you live long and prosperous. Amen. So it is. Bless you all. Have a great, wonderful day. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. If you have any comments or suggestions of future videos, please make your comment below, and I look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you so much. Peace.